Hello and welcome to another video by Rick Miracle Me. Sometimes I make book review videos in my series Freemasonry and Satanism. I made a lot of videos on sky spraying, the dumping of chemicals in the sky, and all the other high-tech weapons they're using against us. HAARP transmitters, HAARP, microwave networks, 5G, cell phone, wireless, directed energy weapons, laser beams, artificial intelligence software, smart meters, smartphones, smart TVs, smart cars, probably smart buildings, smart refrigerators, and smart everything else. The computers are probably picking up every word I'm saying, you're saying, anybody's saying, looking for certain strings of words and books we buy, things we buy, people we associate with. We're all meta-tagged. So apparently, whenever the artificial intelligence beast computer and the mystery school members, the Illuminati, Freemasons, Zionist, Rosicrucians, Kabbalists, Satanists, and all the other groups that swear under an oath that they will be killed if they disclose these things to the rest of us, the goings-on and the teachings. And the other sort of videos I make are messages from Rick Miracle lately. So that's what this one is, because this particular person I'm going to talk about did not write a book. But he was a popular person speaking during the 80s. His name was John Todd. The Illuminati and Witchcraft. And yet again, it seems like the things I've been talking about and the assumptions I've been making are being verified by the continued research that I'm doing. So you got this little comic book by John Todd. The picture is the Illuminati and Witchcraft. And this puppet master is saying, "Ha ha ha, they don't know, they're all on our side. Ha!" And then you got the Uncle Sam, the United States character. Uncle Sam wants you. And then, of course, some kind of military and politicians in the background and pictures of the devil. And look on the board they're playing. Oil wells, rockets, ice, tanks, planes, guns. The whole arsenal being used against we the people. So this image created during the Cold War, copyright 1980 by Jacob Saylor. Got a little bird visitor here. His name was John Todd, a former member of the Illuminati. He warned us against their plans for world domination. You can't make this stuff up, but you can look it up. Before he was framed and effectively discredited by the Illuminati. And when you find out what he did, I guess it'll be understandable why they framed him. And it was, to me, it seems clearly a frame job. I know that 100 years ago, maybe not even that long, if you were to be talking about the things I'm talking about, you would be assassinated rather quickly. And then as time progressed, and apparently the world became more awake and news traveled quickly and people were aware of things, they had to be covertly have somebody get hit by a bus or fall out of a ski lift. Things like this have happened a lot since I've been researching. get cancer, electromagnetic weapons, discrediting, put porn on somebody's computer, have them arrested, have them get in a situation, drug them, maybe even mind control. So they're still attacking people. So he was framed and effectively discredited by the Illuminati. The words that he left on his audio tapes, and you can go on the internet and look up John Todd, I encourage it, is still coming to fruition, which puts lots of credibility on his claim that he was an insider. Isn't that funny, too? Even Alex Jones and a bunch of other people have been making comments. Oh, yeah, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, they were saying all this information was false, and it was a conspiracy theory. Well, as a lot of us can see now, even with the politicians and religious leaders all calling for a world currency and a world order, global order, and saying a lot of channelers and a lot of other peoples and teachings that Jesus was a mythological character and Christianity is no longer useful in this society. It's not a conspiracy anymore. Amazing. The words that he left on the audio tapes are still coming to fruition, which puts lots of credibility on his claim that he was an insider. These audio tapes speak about the evil plans of the Illuminati for world control. 1980. Plus or minus those years, this man was speaking, lecturing at churches and other groups, making magazines or artwork for comic book magazines, publishers. They used to call it pamphlets when the Jews were doing it to cause revolutions. This is just another piece of the puzzle that explains what's going on in today's world. Few people have any clue as to the deliberate satanic subversion of America by the Illuminati. Please read Communism and Moral Decay, another book, Bohemian Grove Exposed, another book, Skull and Bones Exposed. So then there's a link you can click on this page, Skull and Bones, the Illuminati Exposed. And here's the link where I found these pages. Hey, quiet down over there. You hear the bird? John Todd, the Illuminati and Witchcraft. These are videos. John Todd, a former Illuminist. The Witchcraft of Rock and Roll. Some videos on this website you can go watch, listen to. I believe in giving credit where credit is due. I continue my research. Actually, I fell into this because I was continuing to publish older videos of mine that I made in 2013, early 2014, to sort of celebrate for myself the 22nd of September when I made my first Freemasonry and Satanism video. And actually the first time I made a video where I put my smiling face on the screen, sat down in a chair, and just did it. I beat myself up before I did that. I'm like, I can't do that. And I kept telling myself, well, you can only get better no matter how bad you are. And that's the truth for anybody out there. Whatever you want to do. I don't care if you want to start a business mowing lawns if you need the money. Go out and get your first account on your block. And mow that lawn regularly, do a good job, and somebody else will hire you. And you get 2 lawns. Somebody else will hire you. 3, 4, and then you're going to buy a small truck and a riding lawnmower. 6, 7, 8, and the next thing you know, you're making 3 or 4, 5 grand a month. I was a business consultant for years, helping people do business. I believe anybody can make it doing anything if they only try. All right, moving on with this document. John Todd in an MP3 audio format. It says here, you are welcome to download these MP3s and post them on your own website. They are public domain. You can even make more tapes out of them if you wish and give them out. Let's spread them out to the world. Most of the facts given are easily verifiable. For example, Patricia Morrison of The Doors was a known Wiccan witch. Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys admitted to making witchcraft music. And I think a lot of us today will agree that this is probably the case. Even the satanic symbols on Dark Side of the Moon and a lot of albums, and the lyrics and the words we hear in pop culture today, like the one, waiting on the world to change, waiting on the world to change. Not trying to really sing, but we've all heard that song. And what it does, it's a psychological effect. Even promoting the fact to people there's something wrong with the world and we're waiting on the world to change. When the only thing wrong with the world that I can see are the evil forces bringing us all this chaos and anarchy and racist activity and other turmoil and suffering in our world. And one perfect example is when the Illuminati Rothschilds, these groups I'm talking about here that supported and brought about the state of Israel with the Zionism, all practicing the Kabbalah and Satanism, when they conspiracy covertly took over the USA money supply, creating the Federal Reserve, which is not federal. I'm not doing the 3-6 sign. They've been able to suck trillions of dollars out of this country. Can you imagine if this country was run by intelligent, caring, wise people, where we would all be living in America today if that money did not go to Israel and the Illuminati and the other globalist utopians to take over the world, assassinate presidents, kill citizens all over the world? Man alive, where we would be. You can't even fathom what that much money could have gotten us. Instead of us exploding over 4,000 nukes in the atmosphere, on the surface, in the oceans, below ground, testing weapons and biological weapons and laboratories making weapons, creating more biological weapons, electromagnetic weapons, mind control weapons, TV programming, everything else, school children's cartoons, they've left nothing untouched. I can go on and on. So it says here, we were doing witchcraft, trying to make witchcraft music. Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys quoted in Nick Kent's, I guess the book The Dark Stuff, page 27. Like I said, you can't make this stuff, but you can look it up. The satanic roots of rock and roll is verifiable history. In 1967, the Rolling Stones produced an album titled Their Satanic Majesty's Request. Their Satanic Majesty's Request. So I guess the higher-ups in the Illuminati and the Satan organizations requested certain kinds of music while they were doling out heroin and all kinds of drugs to society in the 60s, trying to destroy the family, break it up. They did all that on purpose. I wonder if people really think about that and find out it's true. Wouldn't they be outraged that they destroyed families and caused so many people to have memories of maybe their dad was drinking too much or couldn't make enough money or their mother left them or all these things? How many families would have never been destroyed if these people hadn't have been doing what they were doing? Because family values and morality and religion was really high before they did what they did. They did what they did intentionally, and they planned on bringing it really low. That's the facts. How much clearer could it be that rock and roll music is of the devil? Thank God for believers like John Todd. who, when delivered from the life of satanic bondage and sin, exposed Satan's works of darkness. And let me just tell you who I am. I grew up in the hippie age. I was at the bus stop, 1969, 1970. People were smoking some marijuana waiting for the school bus. Whenever I did skip school, people would get a bottle of Boone's Farm, stop at McDonald's and get some cups of ice. It was in a small town in the country of Florida, outside of Tampa. Popular town. Anyways, then I was in the Army a couple years, and I got out. I used my GI Bill to go to school to get an electronic technology degree. I used to be a water skiing fool, windsurfing, power boating, fishing, sailing, surfing. I lived by the beach, pool parties, girlfriends, friends, barbecues, working at a major aerospace company. I had the life. I'm not going to lie. I believed to just live and let live. I wanted people in the world to leave me alone. I was living a very enjoyable life. I really didn't care about what was going on elsewhere. I helped people when I could. I grew up Catholic, Christian. I had a blinded faith to God. Nobody needed to convince me. I took it for granted that the spirit world, God existed. I took it for granted that Jesus was born, was preaching that people should love one another. I took it for granted they crucified him. But I didn't put too much thought past that into it. I just said, hey, I'm going to be a good person. Nobody's going to accuse me of being an evil man, etc., etc. But you know what? We all can't live in a vacuum. That's why the world's in the place where it is today. We need to get involved and speak up. I could have done more than just had all those boats and sailboats and windsurfer boards and surfboards and water skiing and pool parties. And I mean, just a continuous time. Then going to work in high technologies at a major aerospace company, working on electronics for F-18 jet, B-1B bombers, space shuttles, computer satellite systems. But I didn't like going to work through the turnstile with a camera watching me and going into my laboratory, which was a vault. You had to punch keys on the door with no windows. It was like being in prison. So I lived a life. I was a popular person. Down at the beach in Florida, getting a tan, having a good time, staying up till midnight, 1 o'clock. Just saying, I wasn't a Bible thumper, religious person. But it says here, thank God for believers like John Todd. I wonder what would have happened if I would have gone to church, which I went to once in a while, sometimes on a regular basis, the local St. Mary's or St. Joseph's or something. I wonder if he'd have came in there and started speaking, what would I have thought if I had listened to him, some of his tapes, some of his speeches? Makes you wonder. Alright, so thank God for believers like John Todd, who, when delivered from the life of satanic bondage and sin, exposed Satan's works of darkness. Please keep in mind that Brother Todd came out of a life of horrible sin, drugs, and occult brainwashing, and he was still a young believer at the time of those sermons. This kid actually grew up with his family involved in Satanism and the Illuminati. And a lot of people, if you go watch YouTube videos, come out of families like that. Satanistic families raised them as children. They attended rituals. And the one video I was watching the other day, even as a young person, 9 or 10 years old or 11, the young boy was expected to actually commit a sacrifice and plunge a dagger into a victim right into the heart. And Illuminati people on YouTube, a lot of people escape from that and tell all. You can't make this stuff up, but you can look it up. And you gotta relax. get a cup of tea or a cup of coffee and just sit down and relax, take some notes and watch these videos. But there's so many of them, and just listen to these people and see if you believe they're telling the truth. Why would anybody make this kinds of stuff up? These people were just like me. They weren't claiming to be really religious. They just knew whatever they was, their instincts, their intuition got to them. They knew it was wrong. Just like me, when I woke up and I saw the chemicals being dumped in the sky, and I went down to Costa Rica on a Big Zero birthday. I was kind of having a tough time at that time in my life, like a lot of people when they reach that age. Change of life, they call it. Some people get divorced, leave their wives, go buy a Corvette. Me, I became a researcher after I found out that something was really wrong. Isn't that odd? Different strokes for different folks. Please keep in mind that Brother Todd came out of a life of horrible sin. He was raised by a Satanic, Luciferic, Illuminati family. And his last name, I looked it up in Fritz Springmeier's book. It's in there. His last name, one of the top 13 families. And one of the people who discredit him, saying he was a nobody. He couldn't have been one of the top 13 families. And if you take his last name and you go get Fritz Springmeier's book, Todd and Collins is right there. Even under Collins, it says Todd. So even the discreditors can be discredited and proven wrong if you just want to take the time to look into things, which is another important thing. Just because you go look on the internet about something, you're going to find a plethora of snoops or other reports saying the information is false. That's the way Google and the other search engines arrange it. These people, these internet sites, are controlled by these people. That's what the search results are going to give you. Do you think it's all fair? It's not fair at all. It never has been fair. So a few of the things you'll learn are incorrect. Such as the dating of the earth at 8,000 years old. Biblically, the earth is approximately 6,000 years old. So we all know, and this is interesting, that there was some kind of a reality society before the Great Flood. Because before the Great Flood, even in the Bible, God or whoever it was, angels, told Noah to build a ark. And from my research, the Hopi Indians and Frank Waters' books, and Erich Van Daniken, The Gold of the Gods, and Peter Moon's Romania, those discoveries of high technologies in caves. I made videos on all these books. But apparently some kind of ancient beings assisted the Hopis and the Ecuadorians and the Romanians, and there's other facilities in mountains and underground that were built, almost cut out with laser beams, so that a remnant of the human race could survive the Great Flood. So whoever intended to destroy and kill off a lot of life on the planet wanted a remnant to survive. And apparently they were into some kind of genetic manipulation, creating some kind of monsters like we see in mythology, mixing animals and humans and other types of designs of beings prior to the Great Flood. So you can just imagine the horrible creatures that they had created. And apparently even when you read books about Atlantis, the Egyptians were horrified when the Atlanteans came to that area and continued their genetic manipulation and creating these sex slave and other kinds of horrific monsters. All this, I guess, was going on before the flood, and then after the flood they killed off those kinds of beings and saved the remnant of the human race, as verified in many books and historic account by indigenous tribes all over the world. Did you know that? So there was advanced civilizations before the Great Flood. And after the Great Flood, of course, a lot of that knowledge was erased or lost for a time. And apparently it's coming back now. And it's just weird that in the last 100 years, it was like this for thousands of years. In the last 100 years or so, it just took a tangent curve up. So somebody's making a move, bringing the world to the place where it is today, and weaponizing Nikola Tesla's technologies, which he says he wasn't that smart as people thought he was, that he was hearing voices and dreams and visions, so some kind of beings from the other side were feeding him the information with some kind of purpose, according to my analysis. So back to this book here, which I think has everything to do with everything. Not this book, but this document I found on the internet, as well as many more documents about John Todd. And again, you will find that he's been discredited, but if you read the whole story, you'll say, well, yeah, look what he was doing. Howbeit, the preponderance of information is shocking, accurate, and revealing concerning the occult powers which control this world. The occult powers which control this world. And I've been making videos since September 22nd, 2013, reading books since 2005, watching videos, buying magazines, downloading press releases, and other research material off the internet. I have a huge collection of books, old books, current books, encyclopedia sets, and so much more. The preponderance of information is shocking, accurate, and revealing concerning the occult powers which controls this world and are committed to the destruction of Christianity, freedoms, and America's sovereignty. And if you can get it some time, go on your computer, put in Deborah Travers, watch a couple of her recent videos, Dane Wigington, and some other people, and apparently they are trying to bring this world down, crashing it economically and socially, destroying coastlines, fires, and so much more bizarre things going on, continuing to attack the Syrians and the Palestinians. The sound quality isn't the best for some of the following recordings, but the message is clear. These MP3s are free for you to download and distribute. So you got tape 1A, John Todd's testimony of deliverance from the occult, evils of witchcraft, 6.1 megabytes in MP3 format, 43 minutes of audio. The sound quality will greatly improve after the couple minutes. So even when you watch my videos, and I was making those 2-hour videos, I don't need to tell people, you don't have to watch for 2 hours. You can watch for 20 minutes, 15 minutes, hit pause, or take note of the time where you stopped, and you can always come back and turn your computer on and check your YouTube history, and the video will be right there. You can push it again and it'll remember where you left off. I had people complaining, I can't watch a 2-hour video. And I'm thinking to myself, no wonder we humans are in trouble. People that can't even think and solve that little tiny problem. You don't have to watch a 2-hour video if you don't want to. You can take a 1-hour video and watch it 10 minutes at a time. Tape 1B, Music and Spells, 44 minutes. Tape 2A, Dangers of Fortune Telling, Familiar Spirits, C.W. Lewis, J.A.R. Tolkien, 43 minutes. Tape 2B, Charles Manson, Sharon Tate Murder, Process Church, Epilepsy, UFOs, Demon Possessions, Jimmy Carter, etc., 40 minutes. Sounds like a lot of interesting information. Tape 3A, What is the Illuminati? The Council of Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commission. What 33rd degree Masons believe about Lucifer? Do you want to know? 43 minutes. Tape 3B, continuation of What is the Illuminati? Who leads it? The Charismatic Movement. Chuck Smith, Jesus Rock, John Birch Society. Freemasons, Purpose of Rock Music, 40 minutes. Tape 4A, How to Survive, 43 minutes. 4B, Mason's Salvations, message by pastor, 1 hour 16 minutes. Tape 5A, Todd's testimony about the occult world, the Illuminati, the Collins family, Introduction to Witchcraft to America, 41 minutes. Tape 5B, Salvation Testimony, Deliverance from Fear, based on the 2 Tim 1.7 in the Bible, Deliverance from Fear. Rock Music, Book of Mormon, based on the Witchcraft Bible Book of Shadows. Witchcraft symbols used in jewelry. So they sell jewelry, bracelets, and things you can put around your neck that are witchcraft and satanic symbols. Catholic Mass compared to witchcraft. Why JFK was killed, 39 minutes. Tape 6A, History as a Witch Doctrine, Evils of Television, 43 minutes. Tape 6B, more details of his life in the occult, evils, and addiction to rock music. Purpose of rock music, to get Christians cast spells on themselves, 36 minutes. All right, continuing on. So it says introduction here. The following is a talk by John Todd to the Elkton, Maryland Baptist Church when Dr. Berry was pastor in autumn of 1978. And when you listen to this, just think of how long this stuff's been going on. No wonder they did 911. And remember, these people control our world. These are the places where the politicians come from, and the world leaders and the big corporations, the CEOs, etc. come from. They have control over all the advanced technologies, weapons, resources, economic system, education system, medical system, water systems, sewer systems, electrical system, power systems, shipping system, bus systems, train systems, plane systems, immigration issues, and so much more. We're at their mercy, and this is some of the stuff is in this material. Think about it, who these people are. Here is a quote from Todd's talk in this article that may interest you to read further. Philip Rothschild ordered one of his mistresses to write an 1,100-page book that would describe to all the witches how they would take control of the world through the Illuminati. So Philip Rothschild, an Illuminati, a Jewish person, and the Rothschilds family were the one who helped negotiate with governments and finance the creation of the State of Israel. Make no mistake, that connection's obviously made. They even have Rothschilds boulevards in Israel. Rothschilds bought up all the land and controlled the whole system. They were the power behind it. It was a satanic thing. So a lot of Jewish people who are probably not into Satanism probably don't even know this. Anyway, so he ordered his wife to write a book, 1,100 pages, on how the witch, to describe to all the witches on how they would take control of the world through the Illuminati. So I guess we know who the deity, the god of the Illuminati is. It would be the same one as the god of the witchcraft organizations. Satanism, you think? Luciferianism? Ra, Isis, Moloch, Baal, all these other names, that's what pagan religion means. Pagan means many gods. And some of these gods go by many names. Maybe deception, confusion? Anyways, the book is called Atlas Shrugged, S-H-R-U-G-G-E-D, Atlas Shrugged. I ordered it today. I believe I ordered it years ago, but I can't find it in my many bookcases. It's probably in one of my storage boxes. I have so many books. By Ayn Rand, A-Y-N. I thought that was interesting that her last name is Rand, R-A-N-D. And Rand Corporation, look that up on the internet. is one of the top advisors to these government organizations, and a lot of the advice is on how to control we the people. We're apparently, at this particular time in reality, we're the enemy. They can't deceive us any longer and get us to kill each other. One of the things in it is happening on the front pages of the newspapers across the United States right now. In fact, she spent a third of the book describing how they would raise the oil prices, then later destroy the oil fields, and then they would also completely shut down the coal. Wow, 1978, 1980? This is 2018. They have done and doing these things. It also described how they could blow up grain mills, how they would derail trains. Their sole purpose is to bankrupt their own companies and destroy their own companies until they destroyed the currency of the whole world. Let's see, Venezuela's collapsing, Argentina and other countries, their economic currencies are collapsing. China is collapsing. Who wants to tick off almost 1 billion Chinese? And still be so financially strong they could withstand it. So they have a lot of resources, and they're going to survive. So apparently the government will be stocking up stockpiles. They've actually passed laws that make it illegal to hoard more than a month's supply of food and fuel. So they don't want we the people to stockpile stuff. They call it hoarding. Isn't that bizarre? Go watch Deborah Tavares and these other people reporting. Don't just believe me. Don't believe anybody. Do some research. Get convinced. Buy some books. Spend some time. Talk to God. I'm not trying to be religious. I'm just saying this stuff is a little spooky. But before you ask about John Todd's whereabouts and how to contact him, please read In Defense of John Todd. John Todd's testimony of his experience in witchcraft and of the Illuminati. So here he goes. One thing I'd like to say before I get started. It never seems to fail that when I'm done, a few of my brothers and sisters in the Lord have fear in their hearts. There is no reason to have fear in your heart. It seems like every time we talk about the enemy, Christians become afraid rather than stirred up and fighting mad. So I just ask that if you have this fear in your hearts, when this is over, that you just simply get in your prayer chamber or in front or up front or someplace alone with the Lord and discuss the matter with Him. Remember, they don't want us to believe in the Lord or Jesus or pray. I've gone over that book, Volume 1, Volume 2, to eliminate the opaque, because they know the prayer is much more powerful than their satanic religion. Just interesting if you think about it. They're worried about we the people believing and praying. That says volumes there. There is nothing to be afraid of when it comes to the devil. He was defeated 2,000 years ago, and that's why I'm here. He was defeated 2,000 years ago. I think the thing that made me the most mad when I got saved was that I'd served somebody since I was a child for over 20 years that was defeated over 2,000 years ago. And I guess the only reason I served him was that I didn't realize who he was until I got saved. It took that enlightenment. As Brother Barry preached this morning on the devil binding God's people's eyes and the world's eyes, take it for a fact. He can do it. And I keep reminding people, even in the Lord's Prayer, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And here's the part I want to point out. Lead us not into temptation and deliver us from evil. We all get caught up in temptation, and we can all get caught up in evil. When we ask God to deliver us from temptation and deliver us from evil, lead us not into temptation and deliver us from evil, that's exactly what happens if you ask. So we can get caught up in this trap. And it seems everybody is being tempted 24/7 with all kinds of hardships. People got to see it for what it is. I'm not trying to be a preacher. I'm a researcher trying to find out WTH what the heck is going on. And this seems to be the results of my investigation. It is what it is. The satanic forces, the symbolisms are everywhere. Emmys, Grammys, Super Bowl halftime shows, tunnel openings, everywhere. For some 20 years, I served him as a priest and a high priest, and later as a grand druid, and had many thousands of people serving him under me, and never once did I realize who I was serving. There were many things I learned in witchcraft. I'm not going to tell you what they were, but there were many things I learned and many things that I taught as a standard teaching in witchcraft. As you go through the apprenticeship, and as you go through what we call the outer court, you are told to do things. And you don't ask why you do them. If you do ask why you do them, they tell you that you're being naughty and that you shouldn't ask, mainly because they don't know. I never did know why I was doing the things I was doing, or why I was teaching the things I was teaching. They worked. And we did them. They worked, so we did them. After I got saved, it took salvation for me to find out why they worked. And I guess after knowing that, there is no way you can go back to what you came out of. Very quickly tonight, well, I can't really be really quickly, but I'll try. I want to give my testimony, and then I want to turn it over for questions and answers. I've learned the hard way. After 5 years, it's normal for me to say the things that I say, but it's astounding for you to listen to them. And I realize that when the meetings are over, that many things I say are strange to Christians. Most of you grew up in Christian homes, and even if you were in the world, you were not very close to what I was into. So when I say things, to me, they are everyday things. Pardon some of my reading. I guess that's why we have such a successful ministry with the people in drugs and the people in the occult. So these people have a successful ministry, the Satanists. Because they tried to tell Christians for years the things they've been into and the things they've experienced, and they look at them like they're crazy. And then I come along and I say, oh, sure, I'll listen to you. I've been there. I know the same things. I'll sit there and I'll listen, and they find it very outstanding that I believe in them because I've experienced them too. So I don't gasp at somebody when they tell me they've been seeing demons, or floating things through the air, or received answers on Ouija boards, or made people do their own will by spells, making people do their own will by spells. Can you imagine if witchcraft really works and they can do spells and make people bend to their will? Because I was there and I know it's so, says John Todd. But at the same time, I know how weak it is compared to what I have now. So he's saying the satanic powers that he had are weak compared to the Christian powers. We went to St. Paul when we were going to have their convention this year, which they called off. They're having it right now in Washington, D.C. This is the last night of it, and it was all over the front pages of the newspapers down there. Christians throughout the United States say, you don't really expect us to believe that witches are that organized. No, they've just got senators and congressmen and top witches down there, all in one convention. Now, they're not organized. Not at all. So they're having a big convention with senators and congressmen and top witches. Of course they're organized. But anyway, we were there, and many witches came up to me and asked me why I would become a Christian. See, witches have the opinion that Christians are either the most evil thing that ever lived, or they're the most foolish people that ever lived. Did you ever wonder what they think of us? They wanted to know why I would become a Christian. I said, because I'm more powerful now than I was when I was a witch. That's not the real reason, but I said it in the words they would understand. And they couldn't grasp that. I know how they feel. When I was in witchcraft, I never considered Christianity until the night I got saved. I never once considered it as an answer. I never considered that Jesus was an answer, and thought that the things in the Christian church were foolish, and at least, and dangerous at the most. I guess they are dangerous to witchcraft, but to explain what I'm talking about very quickly. So I guess Christianity and the teaching of Christianity is dangerous to witchcraft, dangerous to the Illuminati, dangerous to the high-level Freemasons, dangerous to the Satanists, dangerous to the people practicing the Kabbalah, the Zionist utopians, and all the elite banksters and wealthy people living in big yachts and huge gated communities. Preaching Christianity, talking about it, is dangerous to them. So I guess it doesn't take a rocket science to figure out when Jesus came along with the power of the Spirit from the other world, prophet or savior. I believe Jesus is who he said he was. He was dangerous to them. Alright, I'm going to make this a short video and continue this document on the second John Todd Messages from Rick Miracle video, part 2. Probably be part 3 and part 4, etc. I come from a family called the Collins. Some of them on this side of the Atlantic Ocean from England have changed their name to Todd back prior to the Civil War. That's not to say that all Collins are Todds or the family I came from, but this family brought witchcraft to the United States. Alright, part 2 continued on the next video.